The crystal city of New Harmony glowed softly in the morning light. Commander Vex High stood at her window, watching the peaceful gardens where her people worked among their bioplants. The Zaphirians had built their cities from living crystal that grew like trees. Each building breathed with gentle light, and the streets curved like rivers between them. But today, the beauty felt hollow. Above the city, energy shields flickered and sparked. They had been running for 6 cycles straight, and the power cores were dying. Beyond the shields, dark shapes moved in perfect circles. The Void Hunters had found them. Vex High touched the wall, and the crystal responded to her thoughts. She felt the fear of her people through the city's neural network. Children hid in the deep caverns with their teachers. Adults worked desperately to strengthen the shields. Everyone knew they were losing. "Commander," her aide called from behind her. "The council is ready." Vex High turned from the window. Her skin showed pale blue patterns of worry. All Zaphirians could change their skin color to show emotions. Right now, everyone in the city glowed with fear. She walked through corridors of living crystal to the council chamber. The walls here pulsed with soft golden light, trying to calm everyone. It did not work. 7 council members sat around a circular table that grew from the floor like a mushroom. "What is our status?" Vex High asked. Council leader Mordan spoke first. His ancient skin showed deep purple lines of exhaustion. "The shields will fail in 2 cycles. Maybe 3, if we shut down all other city functions. And the evacuation? The bioships can carry perhaps 10,000 people. We are 47,000 in this city alone." Vex High felt cold. The Zaphirians had never needed military ships. They explored space in vessels made of living matter that could heal themselves and grow food. These ships were beautiful and efficient, but they had no weapons and could not fight. "What about other colonies?" she asked. Silence filled the room. Everyone knew the answer. 17 Zaphirian worlds had already fallen to the Hunters. Each time, the pattern was the same. The Black Pyramid ships arrived and circled the planet. They waited until the shields failed, then took everyone. The Hunters used living brains to power their computers. They kept people alive and aware, while their minds became part of a vast machine. "The distress beacon?" Vex High asked. "Still broadcasting," said another council member. "But no one has answered. The Galactic Union says they cannot help. The Hunters are too strong." Vex High looked at the table. The crystal surface showed images from space. 37 Hunter ships moved in perfect formation above their world. Each ship was a black pyramid the size of a mountain. They rotated slowly, energy weapons pointing downward. The ships never broke formation. They never hurried. They just waited for the shields to die. "Perhaps we should surrender," whispered one of the younger council members. Mordan's skin flashed angry red. "The Hunters know no mercy. They take everything. Our bodies become their tools. Our minds become their computers. Our children become spare parts." The room fell quiet again. Outside, the shields sparked brighter. Power was running out faster now. Vex High stood and walked to the wall. She pressed her hand against the crystal and felt the city's heartbeat. 47,000 souls depended on her. Millions more across the galaxy looked to the Zaphirians for wisdom and knowledge. Her people had brought peace to 12 star systems. They had taught other races how to grow food in space and heal diseases with living technology. Now they would all become slaves to machines. "Continue the evacuation," she said finally. "Save who we can. Keep broadcasting the distress signal. Maybe someone will hear us." "Who would help us?" asked Mordan. "Every species in this sector fears the Hunters. The Galactic Union has written us off. We are alone." Vex High did not answer. She walked back to her window and stared at the Hunter ships. They moved like clockwork, never changing speed or direction. Each ship stayed exactly the same distance from the others, their weapons charged and recharged in perfect rhythm. The Hunters had conquered this sector of space because they were perfect. They calculated every possible defense and had an answer for each one. They moved with machine precision because they were machines now. Long ago, they had been a living race. but they had replaced their bodies with metal and their minds with computers. Now they wanted to do the same to everyone else. A young aide ran into the chamber. "Commander, the deep scanners have found something." "What?" "Ships. 4 large vessels approaching at high speed. They are not hunter design." Vexhi's skin brightened with hope. "From which direction?" "The outer rim. They will arrive in 6 hours." Mordaunt shook his head. 4 ships cannot fight 37 hunters. Whoever they are, they will die or run away. The aide looked confused. "There is something strange about their approach, Commander. They are not following standard fleet formations. They spread out and keep changing course. The computers cannot predict their flight path." "What species builds ships like that?" "Unknown. The computer has no matching designs in our database." Vexhi felt her hearts beat faster. Every known species in the galaxy built ships the same way. Form followed function. Efficiency was everything. Ships moved in logical patterns that computers could predict and counter. But these new ships moved like living things. Like hunters stalking prey. "Keep monitoring them," she ordered, "and keep broadcasting our location. If they are here to help, we want them to find us." The aide nodded and ran out. Vexhi turned back to the window. The hunter ships continued their perfect dance of death above the city. But somewhere beyond them, something new was coming. Something the hunters had never faced before. Something unpredictable. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, staring at the strange signal on her screen. The ship hummed around her as it cut through space on patrol duty. This was supposed to be a quiet mission. Check the outer rim colonies and look for pirates. Nothing exciting ever happened out here, but the signal was different. It was not human. The computer struggled to translate the alien language, showing bits and pieces of words on the screen. Help. Dying. Children. No weapons. Please. Sarah had seen many distress calls in her 15 years of service. Usually they came from human colonies under pirate attack or stations with broken life support. This was the first alien signal she had ever received. "Commander Rodriguez," she called to her second officer. "What do you make of this?" Rodriguez walked over and looked at the screen. He was a careful man who always followed the rules. "It appears to be from an unknown species, Captain. Protocol says we should report it to command and continue our patrol." "How far away is the source?" 3 light years. "The signal is coming from the Kepler 442 system." Sarah touched her control panel and brought up a star map. The system was outside human space, but not far from their border. "Any intelligence reports on that area?" "Checking now." Rodriguez worked at his station for a few minutes. His face grew pale. "Captain, there are reports of something called void hunters in that sector. According to Galactic Union intelligence, they have destroyed 17 planets in the last 2 years. Destroyed how? Population harvesting. They take all living beings and use them to power their technology. Every species that has encountered them has either fled or been eliminated." Sarah looked at the signal again. The computer had translated more words now. "Families. Shields failing. No escape. Please help us." The bridge fell quiet. Everyone could see the message now. Somewhere in space, people were dying. Not humans, but people nonetheless. "Captain," Rodriguez said quietly, "our orders are clear. We maintain patrol routes and avoid first contact situations. This is not our responsibility." Sarah had heard those words many times. The Terran Colonial Authority was careful about meeting new species. There were protocols and procedures, first contact teams with scientists and diplomats, months of preparation and study. But people were dying right now. Sarah had grown up on Titan Station during the Belt Wars. She remembered hiding in the life pods while pirates attacked. She remembered her father and the other miners fighting with mining lasers and cargo haulers against proper warships. They had no business winning those fights, but they had won anyway. Her father always said the same thing. When someone needs help, you help them. Everything else is just excuses. "How many ships do we have in this sector?" she asked. Rodriguez checked his computer. 3 other cruisers within 12 hours travel time. The Wolverine, Tenacious, and Iron Will. Signal them. Tell them to meet us at Kepler 442. Captain, I must protest. We are one small task force. The intelligence reports say the hunters have never been defeated. They have conquered 3 galactic sectors. Sarah smiled. Rodriguez was a good officer. But he thought too much like a computer. He looked at odds and probabilities and made careful decisions. Sarah thought like a human. Send the signal, Commander, and prepare for combat operations. Rodriguez hesitated, then followed his orders. Sarah watched the crew work around her. They were good people. Most of them had families back home. She was asking them to risk everything for aliens they had never met, but she had read the intelligence reports too. The hunters were moving toward human space. 17 worlds had already fallen. How long before they reached human colonies? Besides, this was what humans did. They helped people. Even when it was dangerous. Even when it was stupid. Captain, the communications officer called out. The other ships are responding. Captain Martinez on the Wolverine wants to know if you have lost your mind. Tell him probably. But we're going anyway. And Captain Thompson on the Iron Will? She says, about damn time we had something interesting to do. Sarah laughed. Thompson had been her roommate at the academy. She had always been looking for a fight. What about the Tenacious? Captain Wu says his crew is ready for action. Good. 4 heavy cruisers against an unknown enemy. In any normal situation, that would be suicide. But humans had never been accused of being normal. Set course for Kepler 442. Maximum speed. The ship turned and accelerated. In 3 hours, they would drop out of hyperspace in an alien system and face an enemy that had never been defeated. Sarah should have been scared. Instead, she felt excited. Captain, Rodriguez said. What is our plan when we arrive? Sarah looked at the tactical display. According to intelligence, the hunters used large pyramid ships that moved in perfect formation. They had superior technology and overwhelming firepower. They calculated every possible threat and had a counter for each one. What do you think our chances are in a straight fight? She asked. Honestly, close to 0. Then we won't fight straight. Rodriguez looked confused. What do you mean? The reports say these hunters are logical. They think like machines. They calculate probabilities and make perfect plans. Yes. Well, humans are not logical. We do not make perfect plans. We make crazy plans that work anyway. I do not understand. Sarah grinned. You will when we get there. Signal the fleet. Tell them to prepare for unconventional tactics. What kind of unconventional tactics? The kind that will give these hunters the worst day of their lives. The Defiant flew through space toward the alien system. Behind her, 3 more human ships followed. They were not the biggest ships in space. They were not the most advanced. But they carried something the galaxy had not seen in 1,000 years. They carried humans who refused to quit. The hunters had conquered every species they had faced because those species fought logically. They used proper tactics and followed military doctrine. But Sarah Chen had grown up watching miners fight warships with construction equipment. She had learned that the best way to win a fight was to fight it in a way your enemy never expected. The hunters were about to learn that lesson too. The 4 human ships dropped out of hyperspace like angry wasps. They did not arrive together in neat formation like proper military vessels. Instead, they scattered immediately in 4 different directions. The hunter fleet detected them instantly. 37 black pyramid ships hung in perfect geometric patterns above the alien world. They had maintained the same formation for 6 days, waiting for the planetary shields to fail. Everything was proceeding according to plan, until the humans arrived. Captain Chen watched her tactical display as the hunter ships began to respond. There, she said, pointing at the screen. See how they move? Perfect spacing. Calculated angles. They are thinking like a computer. Commander Rodriguez studied the enemy formation. They are repositioning to engage us. Standard pincer movement. They will try to surround us and concentrate fire. Of course they will. That is what the textbooks say to do. Sarah smiled grimly. Too bad we never read the textbooks. She opened communications to the other human ships. All vessels. This is Chen. Remember, these aliens down there have children hiding in caves. The hunters want to put computer chips in their brains. Are we going to let that happen? Hell no, came Captain Thompson's voice from the Iron Will. Not a chance, added Captain Wu from the Tenacious. Let's ruin their day, said Captain Martinez from the Wolverine. Sarah felt proud of her fellow captains. They were about to face impossible odds. But none of them sounded scared. They sounded angry. Execute plan, crazy, she ordered. The human ships suddenly changed course in ways that made no tactical sense. The Defiant dove straight toward the planet, accelerating to dangerous speeds. The Wolverine spun in place while launching missiles in all directions. The Iron Will flew directly at the largest hunter ship like it planned to ram it. The Tenacious disappeared behind a small moon. The hunter tactical computers tried to analyze the human movements. The probability matrices showed error codes. The humans were not following any known military doctrine. Their actions served no logical purpose. This caused a delay of 3.7 seconds in the hunter response. In space combat, that was an eternity. The Defiant hit the planet's atmosphere at full speed. The ship's hull glowed red-hot as Captain Chen dove toward the surface. Every alarm on the bridge was screaming warnings about heat damage and structural stress. "Captain," Rodriguez shouted over the noise, "we cannot maintain this approach. The ship will break apart." "Not yet," Sarah said through gritted teeth. She watched the hunter ships above them trying to calculate a firing solution. They had not expected anyone to use a planet's atmosphere as cover. Their targeting computers were confused by the ionized gases around the Defiant. "Now!" Sarah pulled up hard, using the planet's gravity to slingshot around the northern pole. The Defiant emerged from atmosphere behind the hunter formation, moving faster than any ship had a right to move. At point-blank range, Sarah fired everything they had. The nearest hunter ship exploded in brilliant blue light. Its shields had been designed to deflect attacks from long range, not missiles fired from 50 meters away. Meanwhile, the Wolverine had stopped spinning and was now flying through the hunter formation like a comet. Captain Martinez had shut down his shields and diverted all power to engines. His ship moved 3 times faster than normal, but one hit would destroy it. The hunters fired at the Wolverine with mathematical precision. Every shot was perfectly aimed at where the ship would be in 2 seconds. But Martinez kept changing direction randomly. He flew like a drunk man walking home. Impossible to predict. Half the hunter shots missed completely. The other half hit empty space. The Iron Will was still charging at the hunter flagship. Captain Thompson had not fired a single weapon. The hunters calculated that she was attempting a ramming attack, so they focused all fire on her ship. At the last second, Thompson activated a micro-jump drive. The Iron Will vanished and reappeared inside the hunter formation, surrounded by enemy ships. Before they could react, she fired her railguns in all directions at once. 3 hunter ships took catastrophic damage. They had been positioned to avoid hitting each other with crossfire, but they had not expected an enemy to appear in the middle of their formation. The Tenacious emerged from behind the moon, moving backward while firing forward. Captain Wu had used the moon's gravity to reverse his momentum without changing his facing. It was a maneuver that would make most pilots sick, but it put him in perfect position to hit the hunters from an unexpected angle. In 30 seconds, the humans had destroyed 7 hunter ships and damaged 6 more. The perfect formation was broken. For the first time in their recorded history, the Void Hunters experienced something they did not understand: chaos. Their tactical computers worked frantically to predict human movements. But humans did not move according to mathematical formulas. They moved according to instinct, experience, and pure stubborn will. The hunter fleet began to reorganize. New formations appeared as the undamaged ships moved to support their wounded companions. The computers calculated optimal positions and efficient firing patterns. But the humans had already moved again. Captain Chen watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "Rodriguez, what do you see?" Her second officer studied the enemy movements. "They are confused. Their formations keep changing as they try to counter us. But we keep doing things they do not expect. Exactly. They fight like machines because they are machines. But we fight like humans. Love. What does that mean? Sarah looked at her crew. Every one of them was grinning, despite the danger. The weapons officer was loading torpedoes while humming an old Earth song. The pilot was flying evasive maneuvers that would be impossible to calculate but felt natural to perform. It means we fight like everything in the universe is trying to kill us, she said. Because where we come from, it usually is. A new wave of hunter ships moved toward them. These ones had adapted their tactics based on the first engagement. They moved in looser formations and fired spread patterns to counter human unpredictability. But Sarah was already thinking 3 moves ahead. Signal, the fleet. Time for plan insane. Rodriguez looked worried. Captain, if plan crazy was already this dangerous, what exactly is plan insane? Sarah's smile was not very reassuring. You really do not want to know. The battle was just beginning. And already the hunters were learning that some species could not be conquered by logic alone. Some species fought with something more dangerous than superior technology or perfect tactics. Some species fought with imagination. Commander Vexhai watched the battle from her crystal tower with growing amazement. The strange human ships moved through space like living creatures, never staying in one place long enough for the hunters to target them properly. How are they doing this? She whispered. Her science officer's skin flickered with confusion patterns. Their movements make no mathematical sense, Commander. Look at this ship here. He pointed to the vessel, called Iron Will. It should have been destroyed 5 times already, but it keeps going places our computers say are impossible. Show me their weapons patterns. The display changed to show human missile and laser fire. Vexhai had studied warfare for her historical research. Every military species in the galaxy fought the same way: maximize efficiency, minimize risk, follow proven tactics. But the humans seemed to be making up new tactics every few seconds. They fired torpedoes at that asteroid, her aide reported. But they missed the hunter ship completely. Then why did they— Oh, Vexhai understood as the asteroid exploded into fragments. The human torpedoes had shattered the rock into thousands of pieces, creating an instant debris field. Now the hunter ship was flying blind through a cloud of spinning stones while human fighters darted between them like fish in a reef. They turned the battlefield itself into a weapon, she breathed. On her screen, the human ship called Wolverine was doing something even stranger. It flew straight at a hunter vessel, while spinning like a top. The hunters fired everything they had at it, but the spinning ship deflected most of the energy beams away from its armor. Impossible, said her science officer. That maneuver serves no tactical purpose. It is just showing off. But Vexhai saw something different. The spinning ship was not just avoiding damage. It was sending a message. The humans were telling the hunters, "We are not afraid of you. We will dance in your weapon fire and laugh while doing it." She realized something that chilled her crystal bones. These humans were not fighting a military engagement. They were hunting. Her people had been peaceful for so long they had forgotten what predators looked like in action. But she remembered the old stories from their violent past. This was how her ancestors had fought before they learned to grow cities instead of burning them. "Commander," her communications officer called out. "The humans are trying to contact us. Put them through." A strange face appeared on her screen. It had only 2 eyes and no skin patterns. But she could see intelligence there. And determination. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Defiant," the human said. "Are you the people who sent the distress signal?" "Yes," Vexhai replied through the translation matrix. "I am Commander Vexhai of New Harmony. But you must flee. The hunters cannot be defeated. They have conquered 43 worlds." The human smiled, showing white teeth. "Today they meet world number 44. And we are not like the others. But there are only 4 of you against 30 remaining hunter ships. Numbers do not tell the whole story," Captain Chen said. "We humans have a saying. It is not the size of the dog in the fight. It is the size of the fight in the dog." Vexhai did not understand the reference to dogs, but she grasped the meaning. These humans were not planning to retreat. "What can we do to help?" she asked. "Keep your shields up and stay out of our way. We are about to make things very interesting." The transmission ended. Vex High turned back to her tactical display, just as the human ships began their strangest maneuver yet. All 4 vessels suddenly flew toward each other at the center of the hunter formation. The hunters concentrated their fire, certain they could destroy the humans when they were clustered together. At the last possible second, the human ships split apart in 4 directions, while simultaneously firing at a single point in space. The explosion was magnificent. The humans had targeted a hunter ship's fusion reactor with perfect precision from 4 different angles. The resulting blast destroyed 2 nearby hunter vessels and damaged several others. "How did they coordinate that?" her science officer asked. The timing was perfect to the microsecond. Vex High was beginning to understand. They have been fighting together for years. They do not need computers to coordinate. They know each other. She watched as the human ship called Tenacious limped away from a hunter attack. Its engines were damaged and it was venting atmosphere. Any logical commander would order it to retreat. Instead, the other 3 human ships immediately moved to protect it. Not because orders told them to, but because that is what pack hunters did. They protected their wounded. The hunters tried to capitalize on the human weakness, but protecting the damaged ship only made the other 3 fight harder. They took risks that no sane military computer would calculate. They performed maneuvers that should have been suicide, but it worked. They are not just fighting for victory, Vex High realized. They are fighting for each other. Her aide looked confused. "What difference does that make?" "All the difference." Vex High remembered her people's oldest stories. A soldier fights for duty. A machine fights for programming. But a human fights for family. On the screen, Captain Chen's ship dove between 2 hunter vessels, while her hull glowed red from weapon impacts. She was drawing fire away from the wounded Tenacious, risking her own ship to save her friends. The hunters fired everything they had at the Defiant. Their calculations showed the human ship would be destroyed in seconds. But Captain Chen pulled off another impossible maneuver, using the gravitational field of both hunter ships to slingshot away from their weapons. The Defiant escaped with minor damage, while the 2 hunter ships accidentally fired on each other. "She planned that," Vex High whispered. "She used their own weapons against them." The battle was turning. 28 hunter ships remained, but they were scattered and confused. Their perfect formations had become chaotic. Their mathematical precision had become hesitation. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Void Hunters were experiencing something they had forgotten how to handle. An enemy that fought back with creativity instead of logic. But Vex High could see the humans were paying a price. All 4 ships showed damage. The Iron Will was leaking atmosphere. The Wolverine's weapons were overheating. The Tenacious could barely move, and yet they kept fighting. "Why do they not retreat?" her science officer asked. "They have done enough. They could escape now." Vex High looked at the human faces on her communication screen. They were tired and wounded, but their eyes still burned with determination. "Because," she said softly, "they promised to protect us. And humans keep their promises, even when it meant fighting impossible odds, even when it meant dying far from home, even when it made no logical sense at all." The battle had been raging for 2 hours when everything changed. Long-range sensors detected new ships jumping into the system. Captain Chen hoped for reinforcements, but her heart sank when she saw the massive vessels emerging from hyperspace. Hunter reinforcements. 12 more pyramid ships, each one larger than the original fleet. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with worry. "Those are Dreadnought-class vessels. Each one has enough firepower to destroy a planet." Sarah looked at her tactical display. 4 damaged human ships against 40 hunter vessels, including 12 capital ships. The mathematics were simple and brutal. "Signal the fleet," she said quietly. "Form defensive perimeter around the planet." "Captain?" Rodriguez could not hide his confusion. "Defensive perimeter? We should retreat while we can." Sarah shook her head. "We came here to protect these people. That is what we are going to do. But we cannot possibly win now. Maybe not. But we can buy time for them to evacuate more civilians. Sarah's voice was calm, but her crew could see the determination in her eyes. Besides, running away is not what humans do. The other human captains responded immediately to her signal. The Iron Will, leaking atmosphere and down to half power, moved to guard the planet's north pole. The Wolverine, its weapons overheating and hull scarred by energy blasts, took position over the main continent. The Tenacious, barely able to move, settled into high orbit above the largest city. And the Defiant, Sarah's ship with its cracked armor and failing shields, placed itself directly between the Hunter fleet and the alien world. Commander Vex High watched this from her crystal tower and felt something she had not experienced in centuries. Hope mixed with despair. The humans were about to die for people they had never met, children they had never seen. A world that was not their own. Why? She whispered. Why sacrifice themselves for us? Her aide did not answer. He was too busy watching the human ships prepare for their last stand. The new Hunter fleet moved with mechanical precision toward the planet. They had calculated the optimal approach to minimize resistance. The damaged human vessels could not possibly stop them. But they had not calculated for human stubbornness. Captain Chen opened a channel to all frequencies. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Colonial Authority to all Hunter vessels. You want this world? You are going to have to go through us first. The Hunter fleet did not respond. They never communicated with food. All human vessels, Sarah continued on the fleet channel. It has been an honor serving with you. Let's show these machines what humans are made of. The Defiant accelerated toward the incoming dreadnoughts. On any other day, this would have been suicide. Today, it was just Tuesday. Captain Chen had one last trick to play. While the hunters had been distracted by the main battle, she had quietly deployed something they would not expect. Mining charges, the same kind her father had used in the asteroid belts. The charges had been attached to space debris and dead hunter ships during the fighting. Now they formed an invisible minefield between the enemy fleet and the planet. Detonate, Sarah ordered. Space lit up with dozens of explosions. The mining charges were not military weapons, but they did not need to be. They created clouds of superheated gas and debris that confused hunter sensors and disrupted their perfect formations. In the chaos, the human ships struck. The Iron Will rammed a hunter dreadnought that was flying blind through the debris cloud. Captain Thompson's ship was destroyed instantly, but the hunter vessel was crippled and spinning out of control. The Wolverine and Tenacious worked together, using the last of their ammunition to target weak points on damaged hunter ships. They moved like wolves, striking fast and disappearing into the debris before return fire could find them. But there were still too many enemies. The Defiant faced 5 hunter dreadnoughts alone. Sarah's ship was battered and barely functional. Her crew was exhausted. Her weapons were almost empty, and yet she smiled. Rodriguez, she said, remember what I told you about humans fighting differently? Yes, Captain. Watch and learn. Sarah aimed her ship directly at the Hunter flagship and pushed the engines to maximum power. Every system on the ship screamed warnings about structural damage and engine overload. She was going to ram the enemy flagship. The hunters calculated her trajectory and moved to avoid collision. It was the logical thing to do. No commander would sacrifice their ship unless they had no choice. But Sarah Chen was not just any commander. She was human. At the last second, she triggered the ship's self-destruct and ejected the crew compartment. The Defiant became a guided missile, carrying a fusion reactor set to overload. The Hunter flagship tried to destroy the incoming ship, but it was too late. The Defiant struck the massive pyramid vessel, and both ships vanished in a ball of nuclear fire. The explosion created an electromagnetic pulse that disabled half the remaining Hunter fleet. Their perfect coordination was broken. Their logical formations collapsed into chaos, and in that moment of confusion, salvation arrived. Zaphirian reinforcements dropped out of hyperspace, not just a few ships, but an entire fleet. They had received Vex High's call for help, and mobilized everything they had. But more importantly, they had brought allies, ships from a dozen species that the Zaphirians had helped over the centuries. The Galactic Union had finally decided to take a stand. The Hunter fleet found themselves surrounded by 200 allied vessels. For the first time in their history, they were outnumbered. The battle that followed was swift and decisive. The Hunters, already damaged and disorganized by human tactics, could not adapt to fighting so many different species at once. Some used energy weapons they had never encountered. Others employed tactics that did not appear in their databases. Within an hour, the Hunter fleet was destroyed or scattered. Those that survived fled into deep space, carrying with them a new understanding. There were species in this galaxy that would fight back. Commander Vex High found the human survivors on a small moon where their escape pods had landed. Captain Chen was alive, though badly injured. Most of her crew had survived the evacuation. Why? Vex High asked when the medical teams were treating the humans. Why sacrifice your ship for people you did not know? Captain Chen managed a weak smile from her hospital bed. Where I come from, when someone calls for help, you answer. It does not matter if they are human or alien, or something in between. Good people protect other good people. That is how civilization works. But you lost your ship. Your crew could have died. Could have, but did not. Sarah's smile grew stronger. Besides, our ship was old anyway. Earth will build us a new one. Vex High's skin showed patterns of amazement. Your people will reward you for disobeying orders? Are you kidding? When they hear we saved an entire world and made friends with aliens, they will probably make us celebrities. Sarah laughed, then winced as her ribs reminded her they were cracked. Humans love a good rescue story. That night, as the two fleets worked together to repair damage and share technology, Vex High stood in her garden watching the stars. The Hunter ships were gone, her people were safe, and humanity had announced itself to the galaxy in the most human way possible, by helping someone in need. Her science officer approached with a report. Commander, the humans have shared their tactical analysis of the battle. Their methods are unconventional, but highly effective. What do they recommend? Chaos doctrine, they call it. Fight like the universe is trying to kill you, because it probably is. Use unpredictable tactics. Protect your allies above all else. And never give up, even when the odds are impossible. Vex High looked up at the stars where human and Zaphirian ships patrolled together. Schedule a meeting with Captain Chen when she recovers. I think our species have much to learn from each other. Yes, Commander. What should I tell our allies about establishing formal relations with humanity? Vex High's skin glowed with warm patterns of friendship and hope. Tell them we have found the kind of species we have been looking for. The kind that will fight monsters so children can sleep safely. In the years that followed, the Human-Zaphirian alliance would become the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization, one based not on cold logic or perfect efficiency, but on something far more powerful. The simple human belief that everyone deserves a chance to live free. The Hunter ships never circled another helpless world. Because now, when people called for help, humans answered, and humans never fought alone.